Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. Our next speaker, Dr. Nagham Al-Azzawi, Assistant Professor at Rustaq College of Education, UTAS, Oman, speaking on today's topic, University Hybridity. Over to you, Dr. Nagham.
Thank you very much. I'm really thankful to Omren for granting me this opportunity to talk to you today about university hybridity. The topic, in fact, was chosen due to several reasons. Most pressing reason was that the college where I work is part of an organization of 6 colleges of applied sciences, which have merged with another 7 technical colleges as an enactment of His Majesty's resolution a year ago. And we've become the second public university in Oman after SQU. That was really a pressing reason to talk about hybridity. And the other reason is that Oman Vision 2040 itself, which describes the mission of universities to take active responsibility in the development to create the potential of all humans, promoting well-being and sustainability oriented towards justice, solidarity, and human rights, respecting culture and diversity, creating a space for dialogue, and forging collaborations between local and global communities with other levels of education, other social institutions, and the economy. These, in fact, are the same key messages of a report by the UNESCO International Institute for Higher Education, which was titled Thinking Higher Education and Beyond, Perspectives on the Future of Higher Education, which was recently released, like less than a week, maybe. The report is based on the views of 25 global higher education experts who were invited to the initiative titled Future of Higher Education. This brings us to the following. What do we need in education? What do we need education to be? We need education that prepares learners not only for livelihood, but for life itself. By now, we all know that COVID-19 pandemic has shown that there is a greater global cooperation in research, innovation, and scientific capabilities. The pandemic itself made it more pressing, the issue of collaboration. Sir Melvin, why can't I see my screen? Now it's much bigger than I can see it. Let's proceed, please. We already have lost a lot of time. Okay. So, the global challenges then, such as the pandemic, will affect certainly future international cooperation. This cooperation, of course, will be led by values of integrity, equitability, and it should be reflected in how higher institutions are led and governed so that they be able to provide their learners with what they need to make not only livelihood, but real life. Universities of the future ought to be inclusive, sustainable, and resilient within this view. The university of the future should have open doors. It has to be an open university in this sense. No, I'm really losing, guys. No, yes. I have to go back. No, I can't do it.
I recommend, ma'am, let's switch off the presentation.
Sorry, really sorry.
You can share it again, it's okay.
Shall I stop sharing?
No, you can stop sharing, okay? And start sharing again. It will come correctly, don't worry.
Can we do it like that?
Yes. Okay, if you're comfortable this way, it's fine, okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, if you're comfortable, you can do it, okay?
Yeah, at least I can manage.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So higher education then should be organized in ways that focus on integrating learning across disciplines to cope with change, flexible and inclusive programs and pathways, as well as adaptive and creative approaches to assessing and accrediting learning outcomes that are needed. And this is really very crucial issue these days with accreditation, especially here in Oman, for example. Just as learning and teaching will remain at the heart of higher education, so too will its role in creating and sharing knowledge. That is, in fact, the heart and soul of a university. In a recent report from the European University Association, a vision for universities in 2030 is laid out as open, enforcing the vision of universities without walls. Universities are described as cooperative and networking institutions, which take the form of communities with open boundaries that build bridges between countries, cultures, and sectors. This is how future universities are seen. The nature and structure of universities will be hybrid. Now, this is the keyword to my presentation. They will be open as physical and virtual spaces and will work to cultivate both of these when engaging with society. So what does hybridity means? We need to explore this. Hybridity is a term for the relationship between a hybrid and its source material. Hybridity highlights what makes a hybrid hybrid. That is to say, its otherness, its distinctiveness, or signature traits when compared to other species, forms, or cultures. That is the distinctive or salient characteristics of the new hybrid coming into being. On the other hand, hybridization describes the process of crossbreeding, fusing, or dissolving species, forms, or cultures to create new hybrids. That is the process undertaken by universities or academics to develop or design for new hybrids. So what are hybrid universities? Hybrid universities then utilize hybridization to dissolve dichotomies or create fusions between the dimensions of, for example, on-site, online, formal, informal, campus, society, closed, open, synchronous, asynchronous, digital, analog, situated, distributed, or internal, external, in order to develop new hybrids or hybridity. I think I missed something. Yes, here we are. Our understanding of hybridity as dichotomies affect our conception of hybrid universities and hybrid higher education. The distinction between, on the one hand, an understanding of hybrid as a technical solution or setup, something that has become particularly prominent during COVID-19, and on the other hand, an understanding of hybridity as a certain kind of institutional or academic being connected to deep structures of theory, method, and practice within the field of hybrid higher education. The urgency and emergency brought by the pandemic compelled both institutions and academics alike to disconnect from theory and research legitimately. The reasons, of course, are known to all of us. There was no time to develop or connect emergency teaching and pandemic campuses to existing theories, methods, and educational development within the field. There was no time to think, in fact. There was only time to act immediately in response to the circumstances imposed by the pandemic. However, we must now, after more than a year in this dilemma, we must now take the time to reconnect with the field of hybrid theory, research, and practice to create deeper structures and understanding of what the notion of hybridity brings with it for universities and higher education. For this to be achieved, we must reorient ourselves to see hybridity as being about deep institutional and academic being that carries with it an intricate and distinctive entanglement of roles, context, practices, spaces, and materials in higher education. This will position universities and their inhabitants, whether academics or the rest of the population, students, internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, or all alike, as deeply cooperative, networked, and networking with and in the world. Universities can use hybridization to build future bridges and create deeper dialogues between different people, societal ecosystems, and cultures. Now, when we arrive to post-pandemic, hybrid higher education, what are we to expect? In fact, this stage will be characterized with 4 features. The first one is that the hybrid university is not a system or a space, but rather a home and a place in which systems are incubated. Secondly, the hybrid university demands a move from emergency teaching and the pandemic emergency campus towards the formation of post-pandemic hybrid universities. It is time to leave behind the quick fixes, the blind actions, and the technical setups that carried us through the pandemic, and to look ahead towards a post-pandemic future. The pandemic mindset that we've been through all the previous period must be replaced by building deep connections to and engaging the scholars and the specialized experts in the field of hybrid education. We cannot learn much from the pandemic university about how to think, what to do, and how to be as a hybrid post-pandemic university, or about what meaningful hybrid teaching and learning looks like, or how to practice it. The third characteristic that features a hybrid university is that hybrid universities and hybrid higher education are integrated within and open towards surrounding ecosystems. A hybrid university extends across an array of technologies, systems, spaces, and cultures to constitute a network ecosystem where the new hybrid forms of thinking, doing, and being emerge. And Omren itself is in that array of technologies supporting higher education. The fourth characteristic is that higher education institutions need to design for hybridizing post-digital thinking and practice. It's not only online. In our case, teaching cannot go online as it is going on now. Okay, we agree that online has come to stay, but the manner, the delivery has to be thought of, has to be modified. Within post-digital hybrid universities, there is an academic engagement with non-unknowns and even unknown unknowns. The non-unknowns, maybe we've been through them, the pandemic with all its challenges, but what about the unknown unknowns, which are yet to come? We need to think about them to drive societal change, create transformational learning environment, and open up institutional spaces to form universities without walls, universities that are open and beyond traditional setup dichotomies. Universities must draw together and use the elements of hybridity that transform them into post-pandemic, post-digital hybrid university beyond technical systems, solutions, and setup. There will be always the human element in learning and teaching. It has to be there. I have adopted this image from a paper called Core Characteristics of the Hybrid University by Rick Tov Norgard, 2021. The paper was in fact delivered in a talk by the Boston Institute for Higher Education. It shows how the higher university is in fact the result of 3 overlapping zones: the hybrid world, the post-digital thinking and practices, and the post-pandemic pedagogy. They all collaborate together to create the exemplary hybrid university of the future. These are the references and these are my contact details, and I'm very thankful for my participation and your listening. Thank you very much, everybody.
Dr. Nagham, thank you very much for your presentation.